Everything changes in a single whisper. Mena drops a hint and the world leans in breath held, fingers ready to scroll. As soon as she teased a revelation, quiet gossip erupted into a wildfire, and reality television's calm surface shattered. Tonight's story begins with a subtle, devastating seed, a cryptic message, a knowing glance, and a rumor that refuses to die. Fans paused mid-scroll. Discussions exploded across feeds. Clips were replayed. Screenshots multiplied. This is not casual chatter. This is an accusation with edges sharp enough to cut reputations. At the center stands Yandy, poised, guarded, volatile, and opposite her, Jasmine, who appears composed yet cornered. Mendeecees hovers between them, torn, pleading for reason while pressure mounts from every direction. Erica claims to hold the missing pieces, an account that stitches together jealousy, alleged betrayal, and a confrontation that reportedly tipped into chaos. The atmosphere is electric. Everyone senses a turning point. Listen carefully. Alliances are already fraying. Loyalties are being tested. Secrets that once lived in whispers are stepping into the light. This opening sequence sets the stakes: family honor, public image, and the raw cost of betrayal. I will walk you through the night that reportedly sparked the feud, the messages that fanned it, and the explosive confrontation that social media insists happened. Expect sharp sentences. Expect silence followed by sudden noise. Expect a story that reads like a slow-burning fuse finally snapping. This is the moment when private hurts become public drama. Prepare for intensity. Prepare for heartbreak, for anger, for fans picking sides. And as Erica's hint circulates, ask yourself, what would you believe if this were your life? The truth is tangled. The versions are many. The consequences, however, may be singular and severe. Now the race is on, to verify, to defend, and to survive the fallout. Questions multiply. Who leaked what and why now? Smiles turned into charged pauses, hinting at deeper fault lines. We will unspool key fragments, late-night texts, cryptic captions, and nameless insiders who fanned the flames. My goal is clear. Sift rumor from verifiable detail, assemble the strongest narrative the public has seen, and spotlight what matters most: motive, timing, and consequence. Brace yourself. A single whisper can change everything, even if the whole truth stays elusive. Stay tuned. Facts will eventually emerge. This is where a whisper became a storm. A single hint from Erica landed like a spark on dry tinder, and the feeds caught fire within minutes. An ambiguous caption, a clipped audio snippet, a blurred photo. Each fragment was small on its own, but together they built momentum. Influencers and reality TV accounts amplified every hint, replaying short clips and isolating phrases until meanings shifted and assumptions hardened. Fans pooled screenshots and cross-checked timelines, turning private suspicion into public narrative. Threads multiplied. Clips were stitched together and labeled proof. Comment sections became courtrooms. People judged between hits of outrage and waves of disbelief. Podcasts picked up the story. Late-night commentators debated motives. Speculation didn't move in a straight line. It folded back on itself, each retelling adding detail, whether accurate or not. Anonymous accounts claimed inside knowledge. Some posts were deliberate teases. Others were accidental leaks. Still more were guesses passed off as fact. The net effect was identical: escalation. Platforms that reward engagement fed the frenzy. Algorithms favored the loudest, not the truest. Engagement metrics turned rumor into headline. Those closest to the parties involved responded erratically, a cryptic emoji here, a deleted caption there, a sudden unfollow, and audiences read too much into each tiny shift. Allies and detractors used the noise to push narratives that suited them, shaping how the public perceived truth. Even neutral bystanders found themselves pulled into debates. Journalists called sources. Bloggers hunted for corroboration. Amid the noise, a few sober voices urged caution. Still, the momentum was unstoppable. The speed collapsed timelines. Events that had unfolded over days were condensed into a single obsessive narrative. How one moment led to the next became less important than the story itself. Rumors like this do not remain private for long. They infect public conversation, altering reputations before facts can catch up. The initial ambiguity didn't mute the consequences, it intensified them. Because uncertainty breeds imagination, and imagination loves extremes. From whispers to worldwide threads, the ignition phase defined the mood: charged, unforgiving, and relentless. At the center of this wildfire stood three names repeated again and again: Erica, Yandy, Jasmine, their identities now inseparable from the gossip that had taken hold, and lingering questions remain. The chaos had a birthplace, a charity night that until then had seemed ordinary to most. The evening began with flashbulbs, designer gowns, and polite smiles. A high-profile charity event meant for good causes and polished appearances unfolded with perfect decorum on the surface. Cameras swept across tables where industry names mingled, laughter mingled with the clink of glasses, and nothing about the atmosphere hinted at the storm that would follow. Yandy arrived radiant yet tense, her expressions perfectly composed but her eyes alert to every corner of the room. Mendeecees stood close, exchanging greetings, attempting to keep the energy light. Erica's entrance turned heads. As always, confident stride, practiced smile, every move deliberate. Jasmine appeared moments later, dressed elegantly, poised but cautious. The proximity of these figures, all carrying layers of unresolved tension, gave the event a strange undercurrent that most guests couldn't name but everyone could sense. Small gestures became signals. When glances met, they lingered a second too long. When conversations paused, the silence felt heavy. People noticed how certain circles avoided overlapping, how greetings between particular guests felt too formal, too restrained. Behind the glamour, something unspoken rippled beneath the surface. Phones captured everything, not just the posed photos, but the candid expressions between them. A small exchange between two people, perhaps nothing at all, was interpreted later as the moment everything changed. The charity host spoke about community and giving back, yet the audience's focus drifted elsewhere, drawn to the invisible current building among familiar faces. A toast was raised, applause followed, but even that applause felt strained, as though it was covering discomfort. Someone stepped outside for air. Someone else followed. By the end of the night, whispers were already forming accounts of who spoke to whom, who left early, who seemed unusually quiet. What was meant to be a celebration of unity instead became the origin point of division. Those who were there claimed to have seen the beginning of a tension too thick to ignore. The charity night closed with polite farewells, staged smiles, and cameras flashing one last time. But once the lights dimmed, the speculation began to move like electricity through the crowd. Within hours, private conversations turned into public questions. And what happened behind those velvet ropes became the foundation for every rumor that followed. In the days that followed, subtle changes in Yandy's behavior began drawing attention. She had always projected composure, the calm authority of someone used to living under scrutiny, but that composure started to crack in small, visible ways. Her social media presence, once full of uplifting captions and family-centered posts, grew sharper, more guarded. Fans noticed the tone first. A motivational quote here, a cryptic lyric there, a sudden archive of older pictures that had once shown a sense of closeness. The details were minor, but together they told a story that something within her had shifted. Those closest to her felt it before anyone else did. Longer silences during conversations, shorter responses, eyes that scanned faces instead of meeting them. It wasn't anger at first, it was vigilance, the quiet tension of someone bracing for impact. Each rumor that surfaced online seemed to deepen her restraint, as though she was testing what to believe and what to ignore. When questions came, she dismissed them with poise, yet her tone carried an edge, a warning to anyone pushing too far. That edge soon began to sharpen in public. At events, her laugh was slightly delayed, her glances colder. Producers, stylists, and even mutual friends noticed she had started vetting everyone around her. Trust had become currency, and she was counting every coin. Even her silence was strategic posts timed at odd hours, captions that seemed aimed at someone specific, yet vague enough to maintain deniability. Fans dissected every word, convinced they saw hidden meaning in every emoji. Each analysis added pressure. Each rumor doubled the scrutiny. The shift became undeniable when Yandy stopped explaining herself altogether. She didn't confirm, didn't deny. She controlled through omission. Behind that silence, anger brewed not just over what was said, but over how quickly the world seemed eager to believe it. She was no longer playing defense. She was preparing for retaliation. What began as quiet frustration hardened into resolve. By the time the next confrontation surfaced, Yandy had already drawn her emotional battle lines, determined to expose whoever had turned her private life into a public spectacle. Caught between two storms, Mendeecees found himself walking a line so thin it was destined to tear. The man who had once balanced loyalty, family, and reputation now faced a crisis where every move carried consequences. His role shifted overnight, from husband and friend to reluctant mediator, a position no one truly envies. He tried reasoning with both sides, offering calm words in spaces already filled with suspicion. But calm seldom survives in rooms charged with ego and wounded pride. His messages were careful, his tone pleading, yet each attempt to de-escalate only seemed to fuel new interpretations. If he reached out to Jasmine, people assumed guilt. If he stood beside Yandy, others whispered fear. Silence was misread, words twisted, actions replayed in clips stripped of their context. In private, Mendeecees wrestled with guilt, not because of a confirmed betrayal, but because he could not contain the chaos. He had spent years rebuilding his image, and now it threatened to collapse under headlines he didn't create. His patience wore thin as the narrative grew louder than his truth. Still, he clung to diplomacy, believing he could restore peace through honesty and restraint. Late nights blurred into long phone calls, explanations turned into arguments. Every effort to mend trust only widened the gap. Friends advised him to stay out of it. But how do you stay out when your name sits in the middle of every sentence? The guilt wasn't just emotional, it was public, visible in comments questioning his loyalty, dissecting his facial expressions, replaying his pauses in interviews. To the audience, he was both culprit and victim. To himself, he was a man drowning in narratives he couldn't rewrite. He tried appealing to reason, but emotion had long taken control. Somewhere between defending Yandy and understanding Jasmine, Mendeecees realized there was no neutral ground left. The story had chosen him, whether he wanted it or not, and the fallout was only beginning. It began with a single post that felt too precise to be coincidence, a timestamp, a location tag quickly deleted, and a caption that seemed ordinary until paired with another image surfacing hours later. Suddenly, timelines aligned, and whispers turned into a full-blown theory. That a private, late-night meeting between Jasmine and Mendeecees had allegedly taken place away from cameras and questions. The post itself said nothing explicit, yet the internet needs little to fill in the blanks. Screenshots spread faster than truth could move. Commenters traced every clue matching outfits, reflections in mirrors, the faint pattern of hotel decor, anything that might confirm what they already wanted to believe. Within hours, fan pages ran collages comparing timestamps, as though solving a mystery that no one had officially acknowledged. Jasmine, calm but visibly exhausted, denied the claims indirectly, posting about misinterpretations and energy that feeds chaos. Mendeecees stayed silent, an absence that people read as guilt. Yandy, meanwhile, posted a cryptic story, a quote about loyalty and betrayal, which only added oxygen to the fire. Insiders claimed someone from the event staff had seen something. Others insisted the photos were staged. The narrative twisted with each retelling, blending fragments of truth with exaggeration. Behind the scenes, tempers rose. What was once rumor began to sound like evidence. Private calls grew tense, voices breaking through the static of disbelief and accusation. No one knew which part was real anymore, but perception had already written its version of events. The alleged rendezvous became less about proof and more about the story itself, how it felt true even if it wasn't verified. It painted vivid pictures of secrecy, of loyalty tested under neon lights and phone cameras. Producers smelled ratings, bloggers smelled blood. And in the middle of it all, the people involved stood trapped between what they lived and what the world decided had happened. The line between reality and rumor blurred beyond recognition, and every silence became a confession in the eyes of those waiting for one. Tension that had been building for weeks finally erupted in one unforgettable night. It happened fast, too fast for anyone to stop it. The air was already thick with resentment when Yandy and Jasmine found themselves face to face, each carrying the weight of every rumor, every headline, every unspoken accusation. Voices rose before reason could intervene. What started as sharp words turned into layered arguments. Years of frustration condensed into minutes of fury. Yandy demanded answers in a tone that cut through the room, not seeking truth but release. Jasmine tried to maintain control, her calm interpreted as arrogance, which only fueled the anger in the space. Mendeecees stepped forward, desperate to diffuse the moment, but emotion had already taken command. Insults collided mid-air, each sharper than the last. Chairs shifted, people whispered, cameras hovered at the edges. In one blinding instant, an object, some said a bottle, others claimed a glass, flew across the room, shattering against the floor, the sound silencing every voice at once. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The room froze, heavy with the shock of what had just crossed a line. That noise, that single crack, became the turning point. Everything after would be filtered through that sound. Security intervened, ushering people apart, phones discreetly recording what they shouldn't. Within minutes, clips surfaced online, trimmed and edited, stripped of sequence but not intensity. Some showed Yandy's anger, others framed Jasmine's restraint, and together they painted opposing stories that fans devoured without context. Mendeecees, caught between them, looked hollow, a man realizing his life was no longer private, his personal turmoil now a public spectacle. The confrontation wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It became theater, proof that the rumors had transcended words. The chaos ended as suddenly as it began, but the echo of that shattering moment lingered, replaying in people's minds and timelines alike. By the next morning, it had a name, a meme, and millions of views, cementing the argument not as an isolated outburst but as a symbol of everything spiraling out of control. In the aftermath of that explosive confrontation, silence became impossible. The story spilled into every circle connected to them. Friends, relatives, stylists, even distant acquaintances suddenly found themselves questioned or quoted. People began choosing sides, sometimes publicly, sometimes in whispers that spread faster than any statement could contain. Those loyal to Yandy defended her fiercely, insisting she had been provoked and that her anger was long overdue. Others quietly sympathized with Jasmine, portraying her as calm amid manufactured chaos. Mendeecees' confidants tried to keep him centered, urging him to stay off social media, to protect whatever dignity could still be salvaged. But containment was a fantasy. Within days, private text threads began leaking cropped screenshots of conversations that seemed authentic but were never verified. A single emoji from one of Yandy's close friends was taken as confirmation of betrayal. A voice note rumored to be from Jasmine was dissected frame by frame. Every leak shifted the balance, turning the situation into a strategic game where information was both weapon and shield. Production crews and media outlets quietly reached out, some pretending concern, others hoping for exclusive rights to the fallout. Family members, trying to protect reputations, ended up feeding speculation simply by speaking at all. The loyalty lines blurred. Friends who once attended birthdays together now blocked each other in defense of their chosen side. Even fans joined the battle, forming factions online, their bios tagged with slogans of allegiance. What had begun as a personal feud was now a network of narratives, each claiming authenticity, none free of bias. The leaks didn't just expose information, they revealed the ecosystem that thrives on it. In every message and rumor, the tone, of betrayal deepened, and the idea of reconciliation started to feel like fiction. The alliances were no longer about truth. They were about survival in a story that had outgrown everyone living it. By the time the dust settled from the leaks, social media had turned the saga into its favorite kind of spectacle, a living, breathing drama unfolding in real time. Platforms that once served as outlets for connection became digital courtrooms, each user acting as judge, jury, and commentator. Memes appeared within hours, mixing humor with hostility. Hashtags like Cheater Team Yandy, Justice for Jasmine, and Mendeecees Mess trended simultaneously, dividing timelines into digital war zones. Every video clip from the confrontation was slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed for hidden expressions: who flinched, who smirked, who turned away first. Creators turned moments of tension into reaction videos. Podcasters built full episodes around what might have been said off camera. The narrative slipped from the hands of those involved and settled firmly in the crowd's control. Truth no longer mattered, virality did. Comments reached thousands within minutes, and even celebrities outside the circle began weighing in, offering takes that only intensified the frenzy. Public perception hardened with each retweet. Fans who once rooted for love stories now dissected breakups like investigators solving a crime. PR teams scrambled to draft responses, but the internet moves faster than strategy. Every apology, every silence, every emoji became a headline. People began measuring sincerity through tone and font choice, ignoring the human exhaustion beneath the posts. For Yandy, every statement reignited anger. For Jasmine, every denial invited doubt. For Mendeecees, neutrality was treated as confession. The line between entertainment and empathy disappeared entirely. This wasn't just gossip anymore, it was a public trial without judges, where reputation depended on engagement metrics. The memes that once entertained became weapons of narrative, shaping what people remembered long after the facts blurred. Social media had done what it always does: turn real lives into storylines, each refresh tightening the grip of the crowd. What began as a rumor now lived as culture, reshared, reinterpreted, impossible to escape. When the chaos finally began to fade, what lingered wasn't closure, it was exhaustion. The constant noise, the online judgments, the leaked messages, and the endless interviews had drained everyone involved. Yandy withdrew first, posting less, choosing silence over statement. Her final post, a simple black and white caption about peace and self-worth, was dissected like a manifesto. Jasmine, too, stepped away from the spotlight, focusing on her personal projects while subtly addressing the importance of protecting one's truth in a world built on perception. Mendeecees appeared at charity events, quieter and visibly weary, his smile no longer the same. The fans who had once fought online began to lose interest, moving on to fresher scandals. But for those who lived it, the damage was permanent: relationships strained, trust fractured, reputations reshaped. Behind closed doors, apologies were exchanged in half-finished sentences. Some accepted, others left hanging in the air. Producers, sensing fatigue, turned their cameras elsewhere, but the story had already etched itself into the digital memory of the culture. The drama that began with whispers ended as a cautionary tale about exposure and consequence, how fame amplifies pain, and how truth becomes a commodity the moment it leaves your mouth. In quiet moments, each of them seemed to understand that the real battle wasn't between them anymore, but between their peace and the world's obsession with spectacle. The aftermath wasn't redemption or revenge, it was survival. And in the uneasy calm that followed, one truth finally settled. In an age where everything can be recorded, silence is the only thing that can't be misquoted.